Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Single Black Female. I'm your host, Lolly Marcelin.
And Angelita Shevins, your co-host.
And so we are excited once again to have you with us. We hope you enjoyed our other episodes, which you could find on channels such as YouTube now, under Society in Motion. You can also find us on channels such as Spreaker, Buzzsprout, Apple iTunes, to name a few.
And Spotify.
And Spotify. And so, Angie, would you like to give a disclaimer before we begin?
Disclaimer is extend grace. This podcast is new to us. We're getting comfortable having these conversations that we feel is needed. It's from the single black women or single black female of New England perspective, specifically Lolly's and Angelita's.
Yes.
So, know that these perspectives are limited because they are our own. However, we welcome feedback and your thoughts to kind of help us add depth to some of our conversations.
Absolutely. So, as you know, the theme of our show is we pick 4 words once a week and we elaborate what those words would mean for us as single black females in New England. We also want to say that it's just not for single black females, right? It is black females in New England, though the title of our podcast is Single Black Females. Yes. So Angie is kicking us off with the first word.
First words or group of words it's more of a statement, but laws of attraction, and I want to put / manifestation, right? These are 2 big kind of like buzz term and just, thoughts and things that people are fine-tuning in their life. Thank goodness for technology and the internet, and where people are able to find and construct deeper meanings for themselves. So laws of attraction being something that's huge and focused on, and manifestation. And really, when I think of laws of attraction, it's really not anything new. It's kind of like some people may say karma, or some people may say, what is it? It's kind of like you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Right, in the sense of what you focus on. So the focus is the sowing, and then what comes as like this is what you focused on, and then attract it to you. So over the past, I want to say the last 2 years, my understanding, I've really love this age of elevation and thinking that we're in, where people are really constructing meaning for themselves. And so with that said, laws of attraction, I've been able to kind of come to a new understanding of a different perspective of how to see that.
Okay.
So a lot of times, and I feel like it gives people more power to look at it in this way. I could be wrong, but I find that it gives me more power when I look at laws of attraction in this way. That we attract everything as human beings. So it's not, because a lot of times it's like, oh, well, you don't have this, or you're in a shitty relationship because this is what you attracted, this is what you put out. But my understanding and thoughts around laws of attraction now is that you basically attract everything as human beings, right? It's kind of like a light being on, and you're going to attract mosquitoes and, moths and whatever. But it's really, you're attracting everything. However, what's important is what are you choosing from the things that you've attracted. And I think so, more so, we need to fine tune kind of knowing yourself to know that what is going to be the better choice for you when you're attracting things. So I would kind of specify it to relationships. Um, Becoming so grounded in yourself, understanding your boundaries, understanding the things that are important to you. Like for me, I've discovered that because of my way of being, I am a giver, I'm a nurturer. So it is very important to me that a key component of, or a key characteristic of anyone that I am interested in building a relationship with has to be a kind-hearted person, meaning that they care genuinely about human beings. You know, that they're just decent with people. They're respectful to all people, no matter, you know, the socioeconomic status. No matter like that that they treat people in a kind way that allows people to have their dignity, and that, you know, be like, even if they can't benefit from that person directly, like they're kind. Why is that important? That is a characteristic that is present in someone that I am uh, seeking a relationship with, is because I've been in relationships prior where that is not the naturalness of a person. And therefore, I've lost myself, or I lost myself in those relationships because, and it's not anyone's fault, right?
Right, it's not anyone's
because I'm giving. Like, it's my job to make sure I sustain and hold back something for myself. But it's just such a natural state for me that when I'm in love, when I'm in care, deep care, or someone comes into my life, it's natural for me to want to um, take care of them. It's natural for me to want to give them. But if you have someone who's not kind, where they're thinking reciprocity, they will just receive. It's almost like human nature. They're just going to take. And then you'll find yourself eventually depleted and lost. And so, because I know that it's easier for me to, like, I'm more able to identify kindness in someone than I am able to change and regulate how I am going to be in a relationship. So I have to make sure I'm that is something that someone has to get past. Like, that's a boundary. That's that initial, like, if that's not there, no matter the sexual attraction, no matter, because you know, I'm a sapiosexual. Like, right. I am very much attracted to, and I won't even say intellect, but more so thinkers, and deep thinkers, and thinkers who think about many different things. I'm very much attracted to that. However, I need, no matter if the chemistry is there, the intellect is there, I think the basic thing that I've identified is the need for someone to be kind. So when I'm choosing now, when I'm attracting, and I come across different people, that is something that I now know that I need to be cognizant of, right? Because that's really what's going to determine how we move. You know, along with certain things. So kindness, yes, is one, but also too, there is, for me, again, emotional congruence as well too, where a person has the emotional availability that not mirrors, but kind of is in kind of like we both are basically, we have that emotional availability, but also willingness. So, I've said a lot. Lolly,
Okay.
your thoughts?
You said a lot of great points.
Mm.
So, laws of attraction, manifestation, and I'm going to bring this to the New England area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Myself being a single black woman in
Mm-hmm.
New England, wanting to manifest, wanting to exhibit the laws of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of you attract everything is the first time. Angie's the first person to introduce that to me, because the laws of attraction are normally taught that if you put this out there, you attract that.
Yeah.
Now in New England, I'm a very outgoing woman. I love nightclubs. I love them. I love music. I love live music. I love all just being out with people, dancing and breathing and being around my people. I embrace that. And so when I'm out trying to manifest laws of attraction in the New England area, I'm attracting men who are attracted to that side of me.
Mm-hmm.
The Lolly likes to go out. The Lolly likes to party. She's a fun girl. She's this kind of thing.
Beautiful.
That's
strikingly beautiful.
Thank
right?
you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm attracting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I struggle with really putting the laws of attraction out in New England because of the way the culture is, right? It almost makes you feel like, yeah, I want to attract, but the environment is so stagnant for me as a black woman that I think I'm putting one thing out there, but it seems to be putting something else out there. And I think this something else is almost unattractive to men in New England. Now that's on the dating side. When we talk about on just the personal and the friendship side, I think it's also a little bit of that too, because I attracted Angie. Angie attracted me. And then we realized, oh, there's a reason for this connection. That's just not about a podcast. It was just about building a real core friendship. But my law of attraction and manifestation has been to attract women who like the surface of Lolly, but then they get to know the core, and then that becomes the fallout.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, so you said about, being able to stand in your truth, know who you are, and then that also helps with manifestation, right? I think I understood that point. And I struggle with that here as well, because anybody who really knows me like you do, know I stand in my truth. I'm out. I'm an individual. We're individuals. And because of that, I think that's off-putting for the New England market, because there is no standing out. Normally, when we go out, we see a lot of women in black.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No respect.
No,
right?
No,
nobody wants to stand out. Here we coming in hot pinks and all this, right? And then the other thing is that they don't want you to stand out, I feel like, with your personality trait.
Yeah.
We're always smiling and laughing and stuff like, we couldn't even tell if somebody else was in a room because we're enjoying the vibe so bad. But we also notice that what we're putting out is unattractive to all the women around us because they're not as comfortable to do that and be that. And I'm wondering, do I balance that as manifestation and law of attraction so that I can attract more associates or friends in New England? Or do I just accept that my law of attraction and manifestation is not this type of culture and crowd?
So you made the point of you attracted each other, right? I met a young woman a few months back, and based on kind of like her story, and I welcomed her into kind of like my fold and like my social thing. However, when I started to evaluate, so again, I attracted you, I attracted her. I chose not to pursue a friendship with her because we weren't really aligned. The core of her movement, and not a bad person,
right?
But it's just, I know that we wouldn't have a relationship where we're both growing. It might just be contentious. So there is, and within kind of a year, I met two women. I attracted 2 women, to add to my tribe. Because most of my tribe, which are my high school friends, have have left New England. And really kind of like the last of my girl, bounced. And then I have another friend, but she's happily married and so involved. She's a grandparent, and so it leaves very little room for me. But so looking for new friendships, just relationships in general. My children are off to school. A lot more time now to kind of invest in my social life.
Yeah.
And so again, I attracted 2 women, but my choice is Lolly. My choice is Lolly, who is a deep thinker, who's Lolly, who is open to grow, who's Lolly in who's kind, who's Lolly in reciprocity, who's Lolly in not jealous, who's Lolly in complimenting and seeing beauty in people. So, again, you know what I mean? And I just feel like, I feel that perspective is more healthy and can produce more things that you want to manifest if you look at it that way, right? Okay. So when you're thinking about the manifestation, because it's kind of like the focus, right?
Right.
So now if you focus on, you're going to attract everything, but I'm looking for the choices that align with me, that will bring forth the productivity of what you really want in your life. And I just feel like it's more powerful, and it's because when you think of laws of attraction, and then you're just seeing shit in your life.
Yeah.
It can paralyze you.
It can.
And bring you to a place of hopelessness. And I really believe in, like, if it's not encouraging and hopeful, I don't want to subscribe to it.
Touché.
Yeah.
Touché. Yeah. And okay, and I think for me, because I need to look at manifestation very differently. I don't think I've been doing it right. I was convinced over it for years. I've had a couple of major setbacks, and I think it kind of broke my whole belief system in it.
Yeah.
Right? Though I hear it working for other people. Yeah. I've seen life changes for the positive for myself, but I think now with this new ideology of it, I think I have a better concept of how to approach it now. And I think maybe that's what we need, right? I think so many times when women of color hear manifestation, it's always about wealth and power and I want to attract the best man and blah, blah, blah. But when I hear you talking, I hear, but I want to attract the best spirit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a major differential for me, right? Yeah.
Attract the, right spirit and just energy.
And energy.
All right, what's our next?
So, our next word is economic state. So me and Angie had a conversation last week, and I mentioned to her, because I'm reading an article in Newsweek, and it's saying that 300,000 black women have left the workforce since November of last year. 300,000 of us. Now, we know a lot of us were on this DEI purge situation. A lot of us worked for the federal government. A lot of us were in the military. A lot of us, like myself, was in tech and phased out. And I think on top of that number, in New England alone, 1,000 people lost their jobs last week. In a week. It is expensive to live in New England. For many of the viewers and listeners who don't live in this state or the 6 states that make up New England, it's expensive to live in this region of the Northeast. We talked about
1 bedroom is like $1,800, and that's nothing included. Like if you're renting houses, like if you it's almost impossible to find anything under $500,000. and when you compare it to other places,
and we're not
what
talking
you get for
new
it,
construction
right,
at all.
right.
Right.
Oh no, definitely not new.
We
construction.
talked about our utility bills.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, we're talking about in the thousands a month.
Yes.
And then you're living alone and you're working, and now you've lost your employment. You made a comment last week when I talked about the resources. Mm-hmm. Well, they have resources here that help you, and you were like, yeah, but in order to get those resources, you got to basically lose your dignity to get them, which is hard for a woman of color in New England, because we've been striving so hard to just make advances. Yes. Now we have to say, well, to hell with the advances, because I need my handout. Right. And then we don't have a man to help us as the subsidy or the support. Yeah. That makes it even more difficult. Right. So when I heard these numbers, I was devastated. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh my God, now could this be taking us out on dates?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You just think about it. I had a conversation with a gentleman that I actually met, and we went out on a date, and it was so refreshing to kind of get his perspective on things. And he was like, and he's a software engineer who had lost his job. There was a merger. Yeah. And which you think about, there are a lot of people because of technology development, AI, their positions and jobs that they trained very hard for are becoming obsolete, right? Yes. But what he said, and I really respected him because, again, he was laid off, but he still took me out on a date. I felt, very like womanly or whatever the case was. And but he was like, truthfully, even people who are six figures, kind of, 150,000 here are still struggling. They may be fronting because and if they're responsible. Yeah. And then within our age group, usually men that are in our age group have children. That's correct. And we want them to be responsible, because I'm not dating a man who is not taking care of his children. That is correct. So if you think about it, right, Lolly, with the expenses that people have and the current economic state, right? Maybe, they're not offering to buy $25 drinks for a woman, especially if there's not going to be some form of reciprocation or whatever. So, it's kind of understanding that, so where, I don't know, it's a lot of complexity.
But does that make it, why am I going to struggle with this? Because
no. The struggle is real with it.
Does that make it right for them to be out trying to solicit? I know solicit is a strong term. I know it is, because I can't find the right wording for it right now. That's fine. But I almost feel like these men are out looking in New England, right? Yeah. They're gawking, looking, whatever. Yeah. And we're in the same economic state. Yeah. A lot of these men don't live alone. Yeah. They have someone helping them pay bills. You don't, and you have a lot of, you own a home. Yeah. I don't, I have an apartment. Yeah. And yet they're out, and if I go up to them to offer them a drink, they're all gung-ho for it. Yet their economic status is still the same. There's not going to be reciprocity there. Right. So should they actually be out with an economic state where they're financially hurting? Or anybody, for that matter, of color.
So what I was going to say to you, to be honest, Lolly, I'm not going out, or I'm not in a dating space if I'm overwhelmed with my bills. Right?
But some men do.
So what? Yeah, it's an escape to kind of maybe for sexual relief. Yeah. Because it's a distraction, right? Yeah, it's a distraction. Yeah. So drinking, drugging, all these things are distractions and ways to satiate when you can't figure or think of a way out. And you think about it, sex is beautiful, it's wonderful, it's relieving. You know what I mean? So then it becomes just kind of being truthful. I personally don't think, because I restrict myself if I'm really in a financial state where I'm boggled down. I can't think about being with a person
at all.
when those things are going on.
But men think differently.
Yeah, and I think what could help in this is men having honest conversation. I just met a gentleman. I was on the vineyard and I met this gentleman, and he was saying kind of like what we're saying, where he's at a state of just like not even interested to date anymore because, and he was saying that he was taking women on dates, and
Expensive dates.
he likes fine dining, and but he's a thinker and may be atypical in his thoughts, and so a lot of these dates that he would put the effort and things like that, and again, financially, and even for those people who are maybe $250,000, like if you do the math to live in New England and then you have children, you have whatever it is, to have even when you go out, mediocre restaurant.
You're 50 in.
Girl, 50, 100 per person.
Per person.
Mediocre restaurants, and then you leave and the food's not good, service is not good.
Facts.
You know what
I
mean?
Facts.
So he was just saying that he basically he has just kind of pulled back on that and just kind of like, dating. So it's so funny because you and I have been having these conversations like, what is going on? So talking about the laws of attraction, and this is our focus. We're trying to focus to find understanding on what is going on, and I think so now we're choosing to have conversation with men who are going to who's giving us some insight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I just find it fascinating that here this man, a software engineer, was making good money, highly educated, and he takes you out. Right?
While laid off.
While laid off. And probably has intentions to do it again. I'm just being honest.
I doubt it. He said, we don't align because he says he's dating casually.
Oh, that's right.
And I, from a past experience that I just kind of, I know that I can't date casual. Well, I can date casually towards exclusivity. And I need to know that the person, whoever I'm entertaining, he wants a partnership, wants an exclusive, committed relationship. Like, that's why they're dating, of course.
But that won't stop him from being unemployed and still wanting to take you out with some level of intention. Yeah. And I think that's where I'm getting, right? Okay, because what we're saying is, like, we can't. Like, most women of color can't go out when bills is concerned. Most women who are responsible, they can't. But I am finding a lot of men I've met in New England who finances are in straight up and down shambles, okay, are going out fronting in their economic state with a mental state of, well, I'm out here to get something. Yeah. Right? And maybe that something is a come up.
Trying to get the box.
Yeah, right, trying to get the box with
or a come up. You're absolutely right. You're right. There are what we call, and maybe that's going to be a term later on, that we had our hobosexuals.
Right, y'all know who they are.
The folks, the men that are out here, there are a lot of women I know who ended up with in situations where the person is there because they have nowhere else to be.
Sexing for the rent, that's what they doing. To keep a roof over his head. That's fact.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men out here out here who do that.
Yeah.
So that's a fact.
But we do understand that the economic state, it's hectic and heavy, especially given a lot of the legislation and political climate that we're currently in. Also, too, I think people are bracing themselves because
what's to come with the tariffs.
Yeah, people are bracing themselves. There are just so many things that are going on, and people losing their jobs, people, feeling the effects of you know, where it's not, diversity is not no longer of value.
So I'm looking at, because there's another point that you made that sticks in my head when it comes to economic state, because I'm a believer like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work in a mindset of scarcity.
Yeah,
I don't. We have been up and down, up and down, up and down. And sure, there are mistakes we both made financially, which we could probably be way more up than we are now. But even in my down points, and I would say this is a down point for me because I'm like reinventing myself, right? I still don't think in a mindset of scarcity.
Yeah.
And I think in an economic state where things are at risk, people have, I mean, the Great Recession, people made millions of dollars. Let's just be honest, right? And they had to take a power play and make a risk. And I think when it comes to the economic state of New England, you cannot think in the mindset of scarcity because the culture and the environment is already heavy blue collar. We have a lot of higher education, but this is a blue collar state, true and true. And so for us who don't think in a mindset of scarcity, we're always going to find a way to create a path.
And just to kind of wrap it around, what you're choosing, right?
Yeah.
Because this is law of attraction again.
Exactly.
But you're choosing to focus on abundance versus a scarcity.
Yeah.